here for Faceit. It's going to be a lovely time. We are as anticipated for it as we possibly can be, Dexatron. It's feel like it's been a lot longer than we're used to since we were here last time covering these. Maybe that has to do everything with the LCQ, everything going on with the OWCS qualifiers, with the World Cup. There's been a lot of things in between, but it really has been a long time since that Season 7 ended.
You talked about all the stuff that's happened since the end of last season with the LCQs in North America and EMEA. Then you had World Cup stuff going on for those teams that weren't going to be a part or had to be part of that Conference Cups. But at the same time, that still allowed us to look at a lot of the players here in the South American region, look at a lot of the players in the North American region as well. And it's just something that really made the time fly by here. But like you said, this has been the longest time. I think normally we only have about a week or two, maybe 3 before we get back into another season. This time, though, felt like it was about month and a half, 2 months before we're covering Faceit here again. But hey, we have a good matchup to get everything started here in South America as Ragnarok will take on Agave Garfo in our first match of the season.
Yeah, and we'll take a look at both of these rosters, but we are familiar with many of these players. A lot of that original Garfo squad from last season where they became Agave Garfo has stuck around. It's going to be really fascinating to see Gusagobo on this team now as well. I believe previously was on that Cosmos team, but now has joined things over here, so is going to be helping out on that tank line alongside, I imagine, God Hanzo, who we've known to be on the tank quite a bit. But they are opposed against Ragnarok. A lot of really well-known players here. Ice Volcano also coming over from Cosmos, is one of the best supports we have seen last season and is currently still competing for the Brazil tryouts for World Cup. Neuroshin, who we got to see really for the first time in depth during those tryouts, I think was phenomenal. But these are two teams that I think are reasonable to have high expectations about because both have amazing players. They should be able to have successful seasons.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to with the South American season this year. I don't think there's one absolute favorite going into it, because even with that team last season of Del Pados, well, some of those members, I think about 3-4 members on that team actually left to go play on other teams, while Del Pados are now Piso Sour, as I believe that's how we're going to be saying it. But you look at them here, Gusagobo, like you talked about, not on that Del Pados team from last season, but still was a really good tank on the team they were. Hell, we could see him come in as a DPS player because that's what we saw him play as in OWWC stuff as well. So I think this is gonna be a really good matchup. Hunter, me and you've always talked about, especially last season, as Agave Garfo had a decent little run there in the playoffs. This team has been getting better and better every season we cover them, barely missing out. The first season we covered it, barely missing out on the second season we covered them, but they looked a lot better, made it that last season, and now I think, like you said, they could be a favorite coming into the season. Same thing though for Ragnarok, as they themselves, a lot of great players on the team, like you already said. It's going to be a really, really fun one here.
Yeah, absolutely should be. We'll take a quick look really quick at the map pool that we have set up for Season 8. Busan was that first map selection, Dex, but I know you can't probably see it right now. But we remember seeing the post before, what they were. Nothing too surprising. Atlas is in the pool for, I believe, the first time, which should be pretty entertaining to see. Quite a couple of dive maps that come into fruition. Nubani makes its way in. Gibraltar makes its way back in as well. Blizzard World's in here, which... I'll be real, I think, yeah, Blizzard World wasn't last season, but it was so underpicked in comparison to the other two.
I think me and you might have only saw Blizzard World twice last season, compared to the other two. But I do like this map pool a little bit here. Busan, I feel like it's going to probably be the go-to pick for a lot of these teams coming out of the gate, especially here in South America, where we saw that a lot last season, where Busan was the first map picked a lot of times. However, bans are coming in already. Looks like Ragnarok deciding to get rid of Genji here. Now it's up for Agave Garfo to make their ban.
Yeah, well, to see what comes through, Genji ban honestly makes a lot of sense coming through here. I think you just have a lot of flexibility to put, like, Dystopia over on that Genji and find some success. Just don't want to deal with it. And Genji has been getting a little bit of play still lately, despite everything going through. One character we expect to get some play, maybe not tonight, but throughout the season, Emre, who has been making more and more appearances as it has gone on. A lot of times it's a substitute for that Sojourn, but if we see the ban coming through, the Sigma is going to be taken out here as well. So no Sigma, no Genji for our first map.
Sigma's a really interesting ban coming out here from Agave Garfo because you have to consider just what type of map Busan is. And yeah, you could play the Sigma, you could play Poke, but it feels like they're trying to maybe force the other team into something where, hey, if you want to play Poke, you have to play the Domino, which, while we have seen, especially in a lot of in the World Cup stuff, where it looked very strong in the hands of some players, in other players' hands, it looked human at times. So I think they're really trying to force you, if you're going to play Poke, into that Domino there. Getting rid of Sigma, though, good option. I think Flux is still a very good ultimate. I think Sigma still has a really good spot in the meta. But like I said, if you're going to play Poke, you're going to either go over to the Domino or over to the Ramatra a little bit, which wouldn't surprise me here. But like you said, with Genji, you're basically just getting rid of one of those flex DPS players. You're kind of locking them into either a Tracer or a Vendetta here. You probably, or potentially even a Venture as well. I feel like that's a hero that we could see coming out. But Hunter, like me and you said, it has been a long time coming here since the end of last season here in South America. A lot of new faces, a lot of players on new teams, a lot of new faces also joining in this time around. And we're about to be heading into our first map of the night to kick off our Season 8.
Yep, and it should be very exciting moving forward as, yeah, the game audio is going through. Thank you very much, OBS. I appreciate you greatly. I'm going to fix that at some point. But no, we're ready to get things underway. Should be a phenomenal season going forth. One thing to bring up here, we didn't talk about it much, but we'll talk about it throughout the season, especially as we get into playoffs. Remember, this is the season where these teams are competing for a LAN spot coming up here in the future. We're pretty sure we know what it is, but there's technically no confirmation yet, so we'll speak more once we have that information. But we're seeing out the gate here, God Hanzo Diva, Shigorath over on the Domino. And to be fair, everything we've seen, these have been like the two biggest tanks as of recent times.
Yeah, Diva's always kind of been strong here as of late, and as going into last season where we saw a lot of Diva played. And like I said, the ban coming out from Agave Garfo was under that Sigma, so Shigorath might have a little bit of Sigma in their back pocket, force them to go over to that Domino. The Diva should be able to kind of run them down, but you need a lot of communication with the rest of your team. But outside of that, Hunter, you talked about seeing M-Rays, both teams showing us M-Rays, no Genji. That also just means Tracer is going to be the name of the game. And right now, you have the meta backline there of Kiri and Lucio going to be healing up both teams.
Yeah, you'll see that. See the double M-Ray. It should be fascinating. You're looking for a lot of that early pick coverage, which, to be fair, you should be able to find with these characters, but Ligtat's being forced out of position to have to kind of give up one of these sidelines over here. Eventually, pressure going over towards the point. But it really is just Shigorath holding it down, waiting for somebody to get some kind of pick. But so far, again, stubborn teams we have before us here today, neither want to be the first one to go down and have to give up that point. But God Hanzo is going to be forced out of the mech. And with that, if God Hanzo is taken down here, yeah, you're eventually going to see Ragnarok take over this fight. And now it's just a little bit of cleanup before they take over this first fight.
I think you're going to see Agave Garfo here kind of just stall at the point as long as they can, because they're going to be able to get 3 of their members respawn back in before the point's even capped here. But I think this is going to be the biggest challenge for God Hanzo this entire round, because Shigorath on this Domino, that beam does go straight through damage matrix, other than the last little shot, I believe. So it's going to be a constant source of damage coming out on them. It's going to force God Hanzo into some spots where they might not just feel comfortable playing into it, and you might have to just go after the rest of the team there for Ragnarok. But if you're Ragnarok, that's the exact start you were looking for. However, Ligtat, a name we're going to be saying here tonight, immediately comes right back in.
Yeah, I'm going to keep that aggression. Recall has to be used. But you see separation has already come through, and yeah, you're just seeing everyone kind of being pushed back slowly but surely. You know, really crucial pick over on Dystopia. Pulse Bomb, excellent stick onto Shigorath, and now, without that, they're going to go with the Kitsune Rush. Perhaps desperation to try to make this one happen. They're really just surviving on the point rather than finding any of the super crucial picks. But God Hanzo is taken out of the mech. They're beginning to pull this one back around because without the tank, no sustainability, and they're going to have to back out.
When they actually get the pick, they actually trade because of Dystopia going to be able to trade out Ice Volcano, but Rafa will be taken out as well. And now you do see Shigorath thrown right back in. That should just be a retake here very quickly for Ragnarok. It was almost looking something very, very good for Agave Garfo. They're just going to have to go back to the drawing board here, as great uses of the consumers there by Yoon. It really bought that team time, especially to just continue playing into that fight. Without it there, they would have had to give up the point for free, but now look where they're coming back into this fight here with Hunter. 4 really good ultimates. Granted, same thing's going to be said here for Garfo, but you're already down Ligtat.
Yeah, you see Override Protocol come out online, the beat for it, and unfortunately you just have to back out. Natho went for their own, though, doesn't get a ton of value, but as I say that, Capium does get hit. We're now at the 75% marker. One more fight to go, but doubles support ultimates and the bomb online here for Agave Garfo.
Yeah, so if you're Garfo, you're probably in the best spot you have right now because of ultimates, but that Panopticon could be something that really disrupts a lot of stuff. It hits on the wrap-up mid-beat. That will stop the beat from going out to everyone else. You're considering much out there from Capium to get everything started.
Yep, rocking on forward right now. Capium, bit of a rough situation, is going to be able to stay alive, pressuring Niroshin out from that backline. Hanzo is going to get D-Max, should be able to retain that bomb, though, as Ligtad going to miss out on their own. B has to be used. They have thrown everything in this fight, as Scott Hanzo going to have a nice little snack getting rid of the Panopticon, but Natho is starting to clear out bodies one after another. Two already down. It's just God Hanzo, the Soviet, trying to get back and find something. Unfortunately, Dex, it's just not going to be enough. Ragnarok off to a fantastic start here, 100-11.
Yeah, and again, you have to remember, going back to the bans for this map, it was Agave Garfo that banned out the Sigma, trying to force that Domino to be played out, I have to assume. And it just worked out so well there for Ragnarok, especially Shigora. Got off to a really good start and never really looked back. Only one death came from a stuck pulse bomb there from Ligtat. And right now, if you're Agave Garfo, I don't think this D.Va is necessarily going to work. I mean, like I said, if you can kind of roll through the Domino, you're going to be able to do it, but you're not seeing that roll through. And really, that's because of Natho, I think. It's just doing so much on that hit scan right now. I mean, Natho, most Elim's in the lobby with 11, Lean lobby as well in damage, more than anyone else right now. And they've been just playing these great flank angles, and no one's been able to really disrupt them here. Niroshen, though, going right back over to the Tracer after the TP there. However, this needs to be a fight here where if you're Garfo, you need to find something here early. You cannot afford to be playing down, especially into this composition that Ragnarok is playing.
Yep, I like them playing away from the Domina, kind of taking away a little bit of its inherent value, but Domina still has a lot of range, especially with that perk. So as the point unlocks here, I imagine Ligtat or God Hanzo are going to find themselves on the point as you see the transition come through, and Ligtat loses out on the 1v1, and now, with that being on display, Niroshin going to jump over down onto the point. You can try to take the 4v5, but I think you're just see a simple little regroup here for Garfo instead.
It's going to be a regroup, but I think this is playing right into Ragnarok's hands here. They're going to quickly just dive right back in. Capium now being pressured out, but they're going to be able to find Ice Volcano.
Yeah, still alive for the time being, is trying to get out of their lives. Should be able to, as Ligtat barely going to be able to hit that recalls. Niroshin is running for it, but they've already cleared out a couple of really good members. Natho is completely surrounded. We should see a quick flip come through here as you're still hanging around. You're able to start for a little while longer if you're Niroshin, but Capium eventually gets the finish. 25% on the board.
A much better start here for Agave Garfo, and you desperately needed that. You cannot afford to be down by 50, 60 before you got the point capping your way. And now you're starting to see Ragnarok rotate through the other side of the point. It looks like God Hanzo and the rest of Garfo is going to play up at that high ground choke point instead. Now they're going straight to low ground, as now you're starting to see them bowl through people. However, you need a lot of help right now if you're them.
Yeah, but that is definitely a little bit of help right there to still be able to get rid of one with some help. But Ligtat's gotten rid of two already. Recall come through. And now with that, these DPS coming a little more online, and Shigrath is running for it. Pulse Bomb is ready, so maybe you potentially go for the pick right here, but I don't know if you're going to get anyone out of here, as Pulse Bomb's just going to get thrown out. Ooh. That might be an overextension.
Yeah, and Hunter, I was going to say, in the 3-4 seasons, that, or 3 now 4 seasons that we're going to be covering this South American base, we know how scary Ligtat and Dystopia are. God Hanzo getting rid of Shigorath should be a little bit of a help to him, and now Dystopia being pressured out here. God Hanzo, though, with 2.
Yeah, it might get another. Gets rid of another. Is going to use the bomb for it, but honestly, I think worth it. Pulse Bomb out as well, so Nourishing gets nothing out of that. Now you're coming in with double support ultimates. Ice Volcano has been early in a lot of these fights. Doesn't have the beat anymore, so they get advantage right now for Garfo.
Yeah, and going back to what I was trying to say, ever since me and you started covering South American Faceit, we have been saying Ligtat, we've been saying Dystopia's name so much. Just a really good DPS line here for this Garfo team, but now Consumer Rush out here from both support ults out here from Garfo.
Yeah, honestly, I don't hate this too much right here. Pushing everybody back a ton. If you get the late pick over on the Shigarat, that's massive because now everyone's forced back in, and Niroshin more than likely is going to have to be at least the immediate touch.
Yeah, and Niroshin or Ice Volcano. Niroshin, you have to imagine right now, if you are Garfo, they're going to be trying to go down that downstairs one. But no, they're going straight upstairs instead. Consumer Rush out there from you.
Yeah, and God Hanzo eats another Panopticon, by the way, and now we have the Dreadouts coming through. Like that does have a Pulse Bomb sitting by. right now is kind of trying to escape as the point flip is going to come through. I don't know how reasonable it is to pull this one out. The pulse bomb is going to be thrown in. Unfortunately, it doesn't find any receipts. So I think Garfo is probably going to have to hit the reset button here.
Yeah, they're going to fall back here, and granted, the 2 uses of the ultimates there from Garfo, you're not mad about them using, but you understand why they did. You wish you had them back, though, right now, and whew, close. But look at what Garfo's coming back in this next fight with really nothing. Well, Ice Volcano's going to have a beat, Neurogen's going to have a pulse bomb. They're in a good spot here right now, Ragnarok, is to just kind of stabilize for a little bit.
Ooh, yeah, but they eventually track down Neurogen over on the point. The opening is here, but God Hanzo is cut off pretty badly for the rest of the team. Eventually is going to pursue back in. Beat has to be used to stay alive in here right now. God Hanzo is close to having a potential remake on the line, is trying desperately to get it online, but the team is potentially falling apart around them as bomb is ready, and it's going to be used for that matter. Is forced around, doesn't get anybody as Lictet is alive, still has a pulse bomb, but can't use it now with 75%. This fight is in such an awkward position as God Hanzo is going to get DMX'd here momentarily.
Suzu going to be able to come in and keep him alive. However, you still need to be able to clean up both Shigorath and Neurogen, who are doing a really good job stalling at this point. And Hunter, you're seeing ultimates come online for both sides here, but you're going to need something big right now if you're Garfo to be able to take this point back and force a point 3.
Yep, you're going to have oh my god, no! Capium goes down, and unfortunately, no Kitsune Rush. You're worried about getting any touches, and unfortunately, it's looking like this one's going to be done and dusted. Overtime comes through. Pulse Bomb will find a stick, unfortunately. It's just not really going to matter right here. Capium might be able to get back, but no one left on the point. Means they'll have to give it up, and unfortunately, that early pick on the Capium, I think, just potentially sealed the deal there for Ragnarok.
It really did, and a nice map here for Ragnarok. Great play all around. A little bit of a close one here on this second point as you really start to see, I think, Garfo kind of get comfortable in this map. Shake off a little bit of that rust. First game of the season here for both these two teams. Granted, a lot of these players we talked about have been trialing in for those World Cup teams for their respective countries, but right now this is a much different setting, so that rust was definitely there for Garfo, but Ragnarok, they looked great throughout that entire first map. And honestly, I mean, just looking at the stats there before they kind of disappeared, I mean, I'll pull them back up here in a brief moment. I thought we had a couple great performances come out in Natho, I thought really good that first map. Kind of fell off a little bit that second map, but still led the lobby in damage with 11,000. Next closest one was Neuroshin on the other side there for Agave Garfo. And again, those were the 2 hit scans, which are something that we really expect to see, especially with Emre right now. Emre does a lot of damage. That's why we're probably going to be seeing Emre the majority of the time here until maybe they're banned out. But I think there was great presence there by both the tanks there. I really thought we saw a lot there from Shigorath slowing down God Hanzo. And that's something that battle there between the Domino and Diva is going to be really fun to look at, because the Diva kind of has to let the Domino do a lot early on and hope that there's some teammates that help them out later.
Yeah, Domino does have a lot of really good neutral pressure. At the end of the day, it can be hard to take down. Diva is one of those characters that can help take care of the Domino, but there's nothing that is like the solution to Domino. At the end of the day, this is going to come down to them having to figure out their own way to work around things. Now, again, you do have Gusagobo over on that bench to potentially come in. Now, if Gusagobo comes in, while I do have flexibility, Doomfist has kind of been their mainstay a lot of the time. We'll see what happens. One thing we do know, though, the Widow got banned out by Agave Garfo moving forward, which honestly, don't hate it. Again, if an Emre can take over a lobby, a Widowmaker can do the exact same thing.
Yeah, we should probably say what map we're going to next. It will be Rialto that we're going to next. So that's why that Widow's being banned out. Really good on the first point, really good on the second point. By my third point, it kind of falls off. So that's why you're seeing that ban there. Second ban, though, gonna be the Ana, which I think is actually a really good one here. Again, a support that can kind of sit back and sit far back and just heal up their team. Very, very good. I think you're seeing a definite kind of lean here towards wanting to get rid of some of those hit scanny like heroes right now. Widow, Ana being banned out. Ana just a really good source of healing as well. So I don't think we're going to see really anything different from these two teams. And if you're Agave Garfo, do you adopt something much like with that Domina there? Do you go away from the Diva? This is still a map where the Diva can work very well. Or do you go over something like the Winston, which might be able to go up against that Domina slightly better?
We'll have to see, because obviously you see over on the attack is going to be Ragnarok going in first and foremost. So we'll have to see what kind of value they can find for themselves in years. I don't think my goodness. I can't imagine much is going to change for them in this instance, as everything is looking, for the most part, the same. It'd be interesting to see Capium over on this Alari, because, to be fair, we had a very in-depth look what was it? Yeah, last night with the Team Mexico trials, and how much you could do with Justin Alari.
Yeah, but again, no changes at all there from the side of Ragnarok. Actually, I think we do have a sub. Neuroshen's out, Lishu in for them this time. Gonna be playing the same role, gonna be playing that Tracer. But you look over at Agave Garfo. Look at the changes that we have there. Both the supports, Rafa going over to the Wu Yang and Capium, like you said, on the Yari. This is a support line that wants to be able to do a little bit more damage, wants to be able to kind of have some say in that as well. Again, just a good source of healing as well. Pylon's gonna be able to get thrown out there. You're gonna have the orb from Rafa stuck on someone, probably most likely God Hanzo. But this is a team composition for Agave Garfo that I think really just wants to be able to play angles and just try to find stuff early on, because that was one thing they really struggled with last map.
Yeah, you absolutely love to right there. But Sophia is down early. Natho, so really good on that M rate thus far, is forcing everybody back. They try finding a picker there over on Shigarath, who is still really low, by the way, but is going to eventually get that cleanse and be able to stay alive momentarily. But this is the struggle that's going to come to form. Now, to be fair, this is a really good corner to be able to hold for a defensive team right here. But that Domina has the firepower to burst through it.
But you see Godhunter trying to hold on it. Rafa, though, will be taken out there by Nathan, who's been having an incredible series so far. Dystopia, though, making the swap over to the Freya as Godhanzo is going to be exiting the map.
Yeah, and we'll see everyone else kind of just be cleared out as they're going to stall just a little bit longer as they need to try to regroup. Biggest thing, though, is Lake needs to try to get out, but they are not. And now with this many late picks, I struggle to think if they can, like, properly touch this point again.
We really can't. It would almost be dumb for them, too. We've seen some teams actually be able to hold this bridge very well in these last couple days. I think they're just going to let this first point be capped and just try to get a quick regroup here, but you already see the rest of Ragnarok pushing straight up here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cabium is trying to get out. Eventually, he's going to be able to do so. At least you already has a pulse bomb sitting by, ready to go as well. And God Hanzo, as good as they were eating ultimates, I don't know. We'll see what Lishu's able to do here over on the squad. As for now, they're kind of rallying for position, trying to force some bodies away. Lictat over on that Genji now trying to hold that high ground, but to be fair, there's not even much of prioritization for them on the high ground as Natho goes in with the override protocol. Dystopia down first again here as Natho is eventually going to be finished off. The question is it going to be enough to fully turn this thing? And the answer, unfortunately, is no.
No, and right now, if you're Garfo, you kind of just have to play your life here. Try to get out, but you're already seeing the rest of Ragnarok just pushing up, and look at this card. It's moving with them. Two people on the card at all times, it seems, is the name of the game for them, and I like that. An aggressive team that wants to try to always put, right at the moment right now, Garfo in a tough spot, as you see Yoon popping off with that Katsuni Rush.
Yeah, you're going to see Rafa go in here, trying to stun out somebody. Unfortunately, doesn't get anybody. Lishu, though, eventually will get taken down. So with so much being used, you don't necessarily hate this. Unfortunately, Bolo Shot, he's not going to hit its mark, but they will be able to win this side. So finally, they're able to get some cleanup, take this over. But Dex, there's now still 4 minutes on this clock. But your bright side is Ragnarok used everything there.
Yeah, and the other bright side is for Agave Garfo is you have, well, a blade, you have a bomb, and then you have Captive Sun. You're in a good spot right now if you're Garfo, especially with this being a very, very hard point to kind of push back or get back to the card to, especially with where it is. You have to be able to win this next fight, though. Start getting some fight wins in a row. Blade, though, coming out from Lake Ted early, who got stunned almost immediately. Yeah,
now just has to kind of prioritize life with Rafa down. Gets a slice right there. Unfortunately, it's just not going to matter. So now you're going to just back out of here, take your reset, keep everybody alive, because, again, you do have Capium, who is going to be able to hit this Captive Sun here in a moment here. With Lisu down, big opening coming through. Big stick over on Ice Volcano as well, who has to kind of back out of there as God Hanzo forced to remac, but they should be able to stabilize off of that.
Yeah, but that's two of those ultimates gone. No picks coming from either of them, and now you're really looking at this Captain Sun from Capium as something that almost needs to be able to win the fight on its own, or at least force a little bit of a fallback here. Granted, there's been a minute since we saw a touch come out from Ragnarok, but that's the pick you're looking for right there. Getting rid of Natho's just been a constant problem so far.
Yeah, it definitely has. Ice Volcano is just too surrounded. Lishu and Shigarath are going to try to add together, but yeah, Shigarath sees the writing on the wall, just takes the reset, and now down to 2.5 minutes on the time bank. But now your issue is if you're Garfo, is the alt bank from Ragnarok is about to be plentiful.
It's about to be plentiful, but you have two of your own, and Rafa should be able to build to that title blast here pretty quickly as well. God Hanzo and Ligtat, though, you're going to need them just to kind of play it slow here. Again, you just need to find early picks. It seems like this Ragnarok team is not a team that wants to go in down one member. Captain Sun, though, out from Capium.
Yeah, unfortunately, just easy avoidance right there for Shigarath right here. You're losing bodies one after another, unfortunately. eating these late deaths is going to put you in such a rough position because now they're pushing cart. And unfortunately, if God Hanzo gets demaxed here, I struggle to think that they can pull this back.
Raptor does have Tidal Blast here coming up in a moment, so they should be able to throw it on the God Hanzo to allow them just at least go be the touch. But Hunter, like you said, those ultimates about to be online for Ragnarok. Well, they have 4 online, and they're already using 3.
Yeah, they're throwing in so much to try to win this fight. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to happen, as they're going to be cleared out eventually. As again, a lot used to win that fight, 4 ultimates for Ragnarok, but again, it's 3 in exchange, so you don't hate that whatsoever.
Oh, no, you don't hit that at all. And Grand, you got out the Bola shot and the Tidal Blast there from Agave Garfo. You love that. Funny thing is, I said 4 ultimates ready for them right there. And granted, I missed Lishu throughout the pulse bomb, and then you saw the rest of the dump come there from Ragnarok. So that team desperately won that point there fast. They still have this Panopticon ready to go, but God Hanzo's been really good at being able to eat them so far throughout this series. 2 for 2 right now, but you need a fight win here.
Whoa.
Nice trade out to get started, though.
Yeah, and again, spawn's quite a little bit closer for Agave Garfo as well, but you need to keep everybody safe as best you can. God Hanzo is trying to play aggressively into Shigrath, but Shigrath is doing a really good job on these Domino, kind of just managing a lot of the space along with it. And now a Panopticon is ready to go right here. We have seen God Hanzo eat multiple of them so far, so I know Shigrath is going to buy this time, has to wait for that right moment.
They're coming up from League 10. Needs to be able to find something here to go slashing into the backline, but instead I think they overextend themselves. Shigorath's going to be able to find them there, and that's the opening you're now looking for if you're Ragnarok to keep going in. Rafa overextends as well. It's all starting to fall apart here now for Garfo.
Yeah, you just want to, I was say, you might just have to throw this bomb out because now you have to go and force a retouch. I don't think you get back. I struggle as to why the God Hanzo doesn't just stay on the point, bomb up, and make some space that way. That is an unfortunate sequence.
Yeah, absolutely unfortunate right there, but another good round, honestly, from Ragnarok. And I mean, we knew what to expect from this Agave Garfo team. This Ragnarok team, though, a lot of players that we saw on teams last season, a lot of players we saw in World Cup trials, or even some of the national teams. And we were like, okay, this is a really good team on paper. How good are they actually going to be when they play together? And right now, they are impressing me mightily. And again, as I just look at the stats here, I mean, you still look at Natho and Lishu have been doing so much. Shigorath has the most damage in the lobby right now, but Natho right behind them, also with the most elims with 12 at the moment. And again, I feel like it's just been this constant battle of Domina versus D.Va. And Domina's just been able to come out of it on top of it throughout this entire series so far. And you see God Hanzo, I think, doing the right thing, giving up on the D.Va, essentially. Even though I feel like this is a good attacking point for dive compositions, I think you almost need to give it up here because it's just it's not working at all, especially at Shigorath on the other side. But now look at what we're seeing here. Support lines was an interesting thing to talk about last round because you had that traditional kind of main meta support line for Ragnarok as they were attacking. Well, Garfo's gonna be doing the same thing, but you see a little bit of a difference there now as Ragnarok's on the defense side. Ice Volcano will stick with the Wu Yang. Yoon gonna be sticking with the Kiriko as they've been doing really good on it all night long. But other than that, Hunter, you see the tried and true old meta coming out here right now for Garfo with that Zarya Vendetta, something that's been a little bit quieter as of late.
It has been quite a little bit quieter as Yoon almost just gets deleted right out the gate, but it feels like you need something like this, Dex, because I talked before about how hard this corner can be to break through sometimes, and I think having the Zarya Vendetta is going to put you in a potential position to be able to burst through it a lot quicker. But still, you have to worry about God Hanzo because the moment those bubbles are gone, you're see everything being thrown back in your face. But Ligtad is going to trade out one here. Rappa taking the aggression as well as in a bit of a difficult predicament way in the back as Natho gets rid of their second Dystopia. Needs to struggle and hold on here, as if you get rid of Shigorath, you should be able to take this fight, but Shigorath is doing their best 80 strength compression, and somehow, some way, they're going to pull that fight out.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at their health bar that entire time. They had 1 health and maybe about 10 shields to their name. They somehow come out on top, and this is going to be absolutely devastating for Garfo, as now, I mean, if you get that kill on the Shigorath, it probably forces Natho and the rest of the team to kind of fall back for a brief moment. Now, instead, they're pushing back up, and Capium and Ligtad have to play very, very safe here at the moment, as you already see Shigorath just starting to take all that space back, trying to control all the momentum and space that they're giving Garfo at the moment, as Ligtad, again, trying to just go in that backline and find one.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to. One ball has already been used, though, as you see a little bit of health there. But God Hanzo is kind of just in a really bad thick of it right now. Eventually is going to get a little bit of care. But if you can't keep God Hanzo alive through this all, you are never going to break through this poke. And that's the problem right now, is they're going to get forced back once again.
Yeah, I don't think the Zarya Vendetta idea is working right now for Garfo, because you had Lig 10 and Rafa go off on their own, and you saw them be the first two to die in that fight. I understand what they're trying to go for there, but it just wasn't working, and now you're halfway through your time bank here, and look at the ultimates. Rafa not even 50% up to a, or just got halfway to a pulse, to a beat. But the other side, they're about to have all 5 of their ultimates ready to go here, as Lig 10, again, needs some help to get out alive, and they're not going to be able to.
Yeah, and Lishu kind of just has his pulse bomb sitting by, and would love to find a target, but he's just gonna avoid it for now, as everyone's just getting wiped anyway. Dystopia gets a nice pick over on the Shigarat, though, so if there is a regroup, this is your best opportunity now.
Yeah, you need to go fast, and granted, Rapper will be able to get Hanzo back out here pretty quickly. You're still gonna have to deal with 4 ultimates from the other side. Granted, you haven't even really built up to 2 if you're Garfo. You're gonna have 2, maybe 3 ready to go this fight around here, so this is your best opportunity, but you need to get something early. You need to give yourself an advantage, because that's one thing we have not seen from this Garfo team a lot throughout the series, is having the advantage.
Yeah, and Ligtat is being thrown everything at them right here. Lucky to be alive here, as Teleblast not getting a whole lot, but everything's being thrown in, and both DPS getting themselves a pick on the board. Now, about a minute left on the board, and man, this combo coming up here, it needs to do everything.
Yeah, again, another ultimate or another fight we're seeing really Ragnarok kind of dump some ultimates in there. Granted, it was only 3, but you'll take that. However, you look at Garfo now. They're in the best spot they've been when it comes to that ultimate economy. They're going to have all 5 of their ultimates ready to go unless someone dies here pretty early on, and Dystopia gets some healing. But this should be the fight that you should win here. Dystopia finding Lishu out early on. Now the consumer as well. They want to play fast.
Yeah, now you're looking for a good target. You'll eventually get it right there, and Shigarat is just going to stall on this car for as long as humanly possible. And to be fair, I think you've already stalled long enough to, like, potentially have a retouch. At least Lishu should be able to get the immediate one.
Yeah, Lishu looks like they're going to try to get themselves set up, but you do see Dystopia playing that off angle, making sure they're going to stay back, stay true, and I don't think we're going to see a touch come out from them, really. Nathan, though, find the one pick right there. Actually, that's going to force the touch out, but it will immediately be quenched.
Yeah, and they're going to double down here. God, Hanzo gets rid of 3 in that whole exchange right there, and unfortunately, yeah, you'll see the resets coming through. Shigarat is going to be finished off as, honestly, it feels like you almost had to do that just to solidify that fight win.
Yeah, and you needed it. You really did. You need to give yourself some momentum. You still have 2 ultimates, though, coming into this next engagement, which is going to be a really tough one, because around that same point I talked about last round for Ragnarok, where, hey, they lost it. They had to fall back a little bit. Took them a little bit to get back. Ligtat falling first, though. Big problem right now for Garfo, but you have Override. That could be enough to really win you a fight. However, you have to look at Shigorath having that Panopticon online here momentarily. Not afraid to eat this time around, as you already see a trade come out.
Yeah, I don't know how much you love this trade ultimately. You have Ligtat back in the battle, but Dystopia is struggling to stay alive without Capium. There's no immediate heals that come through, so unfortunately, they're not really going to make much space off of this right here. Shigarat is getting pelted down really badly right now, as Override Protocol here for Dystopia, hoping to find somebody to go after. Unfortunately, not a lot of available targets.
Yeah, it feels like it was used a little bit too early here right now, as everyone from Ragnarok was able to just kind of go hide in space, and you saw Dystopia kind of just throwing it out there, saying, okay, I hope someone's here, as you already lose Ligtat again early. A little bit of unorthodox play, or just unfamiliar play we're seeing from Ligtat here.
Yeah, and now, yeah, they just have to hit the full reset, and now you're back to a minute 50 on the clock. Back to kind of just, you know, the drawing board on this one, where they're struggling to really get into a proper fight.
Yeah, and yeah, you look at the clock here right now, just over 60 seconds left to go, and you're in the same kind of spot. We saw Ragnarok last round for them. They're going to have all 5 of the ultimates here ready pretty soon. Rafa's been holding on this beat. You will have a Sundering Blade, but you need to get something going here right now if you're Garfo, but it's going to be very, very hard for them to do anything, as you're seeing all this pressure come out here from Ragnarok.
They're absolutely trying to right now, but God Hanzo is going to try to cross what is essentially the inside of Death Valley, trying to walk into this building right here. But to be fair, there's not too many other options on the board, but the longer they do this, they are burning more and more time, to the point where, Dex, this is becoming the final fight. And if Rafa goes down early with that beat still in hand, it would be absolutely devastating. They take a trade out, which honestly, you don't hate it ultimately, as you do lose out on being able to have that blade, but you still have the sound barrier sitting by us. This Stovia gets cleaned up.
Capium, though, will be able to trade it right out again. However, I don't think they're going to be able to escape with their lives this time around. Nope, it will be Shigorath find them. However, you do see that there. The kill feed is going the way of Garfo here, but you do not have numbers on your side, and the spawns are much, much better here for Ragnarok. You have the grab, though, coming online. There it is. Going to be able to find Shigorath. You need to be able to get rid of this Domina.
Yeah, and that you will do. Ligtat's going to need a little bit of help. Sound barrier is used, and clean up beginning to come through here, should be able to cut some bodies down. This will take this point away. But that's 2 overtimes in a row that you have to use to get through here, and now you can't beat their time bank, but still, if you can finish this map, you still have a chance.
Yeah, Hunter, you've heard me say it a lot. You don't have to look at that time bank anymore if you're Garfield. You just have to look at completing the map right here to force an overtime, because they're getting better as this map has gone on Grand. Yeah, it's been clawing tooth and nail to get there. As you see the Panopticon come out just on to Lakehead, who'll barely be able to keep themselves alive as Consumer Rush now out from Cappy as they want to try to keep this momentum up.
Yeah, and Shigorath, I mean, again, has been living through so many fights that it feels like maybe they shouldn't be able to properly get through, but Linktat goes down early, Lishu getting the nice finish, and now everyone here, you have to back up. You have to keep everybody alive best you can and take the reset, especially God Hanzo trying to keep all that charge.
They're trying to, but Shigorath doing the right thing of pushing up there. Might be able to find Dystopia as well, which is almost a disaster here now for Garfo. But now you're losing Linktat, who, again, this has been such an unorthodox play. That's their 16th death of the map.
That's insane.
30 seconds.
I don't have words for that.
Yeah, we have seen the type of player that Linktat is. This is just not the performance we expected from them right now, but I think you're seeing Ragnarok really just pressure them in spots where they just don't have a lot to do here. 16 seconds left to go. You have a pulse bomb ready to go here for Ragnarok, but Linktat takes care of one. However, you lose the only ultimate you had.
Yeah, now that's rough as God Hanzo's going to get burnt away, and you're going to get the overtime charge with a little help from Linktat. But unfortunately, you just don't have any help remaining, and Dystopia, try as they might get back, it's just not going to matter. Your override protocol, not going to find anything, as just Ragnarok, he's going to bring this over to max point already, looking like $1 million so far.
Yeah, looking incredible right there, and that DPS line combining for 60 elims. That map, you also just had a lot of great plays come out there from everyone onto Shigorath. Again, most deaths, or most elims in the lobby right there with 33, led the lobby in damage with a flat 17,000 on the dot. I mean, I've been really impressed with Shigorath. This is a player that, unless, like, that I don't think me and you have seen before, unless this is a new name change for someone, but they are the real deal right now. They are doing a really, really good job against God Hanzo, which me and you have seen God Hanzo in the past look like they've been able to take over lobbies against some of the best tanks in the previous seasons of Faceit as well. But I think you're still looking at Agave Garfo saying, like, what's the problem here? What do they need to do? I mean, you look at just the DPS line there for Agave Garfo, 27 deaths. Well, combined deaths, but 27 deaths. That's not necessarily the best stat there. God Hanzo did a good job keeping themselves alive. Only 5. Actually, the least amount of deaths in the lobby that time around. But still, the struggles were there for Agave Garfo. Granted, first game of the season, maybe trying to shake some rust off, but you're looking at Ragnarok like as if, hey, they're that brand new team. There's no rust on them. They're shiny and new, and they are looking like it.
Yeah, no, they're looking phenomenal. And again, sometimes we see newer teams like this come in where the players aren't necessarily new, but they come through with this rebranding, and you have these players that haven't maybe played together too much, but they come together and make this brilliant team. That is something that we could see in the makings right now. But of course, they do need to finish the job right here. You get one more opportunity if you are Agave Garfo to turn this thing around. Now, are they going to be able to? It's going to be a rough road. Let's make it very clear. It will be tough to turn this one around, but it's still very doable. We know what these players are capable of, and you could very well see kind of moving forward a particular style go their way, because at this point, while they have found glimpses of success, there has not been anything in terms of long-term success for the team in terms of this match.
Yeah, and I think, again, the Domino has just been a big problem so far. Like I said, Shigorath has been playing incredibly out of their mind, and especially with them having the first ban, they got rid of the Cassidy going on to Atlas, which, again, I think Domino works very well on this map. Hell, we've seen Domino work very well on all the maps so far. Now, though, you're going to immediately see, after the Cassidy ban come out from Agave Garfo, Ragnarok saying, okay, looks like God Hanzo is figuring something out there with the Zarya. We don't want to see it this map. So it's going to be Ragnarok banning out the Zarya. And I think these are 2 really good bans. Or at least a really good ban for Ragnarok. Cassidy, though, we haven't seen Cassidy all night long, and this is definitely a preemptive ban, trying to force maybe the hit scans off of something a little bit more close quarters that the Cassidy is, but I still just think that means we're going to be seeing the Emre, which Natho has showed us throughout the night so far that they are perfectly fine playing that hero.
No, perfectly comfortable being able to do so. So we'll see what comes to mind here for this third and potential final map, as You are going to see Nurshin come back in for this map as well, in place of Lisa, who I think did a pretty good job over on Rialto. But we'll see how things go for them to finish things up. And Garanzo going to the Domina, honestly, I wouldn't hate it. At this point, it's the one thing you haven't tried, and it's a scenario if you can't beat him, join him, because the Domina is just that good right now.
Yeah, and I think it's the right move to do it here right now, because if it doesn't work out early, you have the opportunity to make that swap, to get something else, to bring that diva back out, to maybe even bring something like a Ramatra back out as well here from. But outside that, no big surprise with any of the heroes. Again, Lucio Curie is gonna probably be the backline we see for a long time to come, and Tracer and Emre, I think is gonna be the name of the game for a lot of these teams. Ligtat though. Oh, I was gonna say, it looks like there's a slight problem there as we lost both Dystopia and Rafa. So it looks like some DCs happening. That has, we're used to that happening a little bit here. But this is, you're looking at Ligtat still kind of hovering that sim. They're probably getting swapped back over to the Tracer at some point, but this is a little bit of a not a good thing here for Agave Garfo, as they desperately need something to go their way here early on. Now you're already going to be able to see a Ragnarok just get set up on point.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is just how it's gonna go. But we'll have to see what it is. Again, we have the server issues occasionally. This is not the first time it's happened. I doubt it'll be the last either.
It is week 1.
But yeah, but I will appreciate what direction they decide to take with this, in terms of everything, as hopefully we get some bodies back in, as Rafa is back in. So we'll have to see momentarily as to Sophie's here as well. So when the pause gives up, they should both be back in the game, and we should be able to proceed as normal. But unfortunately, it will continue as is, so they will have worse off positioning for it.
Yeah, and looks like the Sim will probably eventually swap out here for Ligtat back over that Tracer, like I said. Actually, no, the Reaper. The Reaper's actually been an interesting hero. We've seen this a little bit more, especially on just this map. Reaper finds a lot of value, and especially going up against something like that Domina on the other side. I feel it could actually work, but you need to be able to play it well here, as you already see them take a lot of damage. But this should be an easy first cap here now for Ragnarok.
Yeah, Natho had a moment of potentially being bursted away. You go in with that aggression as you're throwing a lot and you're trying to get her Shigarath, and Ligtat unfortunately just walks in front of all the damage, gets burnt down, and now everyone kind of has to force a bit of a regroup here. Nice little hit onto Shigarath to take him off the high ground, as Dystopia will find Yoon as an indirect result, but still, there's so much chaos going on. They need to find a way to restabilize, but Dystopia doesn't need restabilization. They've already found 2, and now this one should be theirs.
Ligtat can come back in and find Nero, and you're just going to see stalls come out here right now for Ragnarok. Dystopia, again, third pick of the fight. The only one that got out was Shigarath, who just decided to go play back, fall back, and regroup with their team. And I think that's exactly the fight you need right there if you were Garfo. Come back in, quickly get that point right back. Dystopia cannot afford to fall early here, as they're already very low, but I feel like God Hanzo's DCing. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, God Hanzo's just kind of staring into a corner. Yep, there they go. And again, another unfortunate thing here for Garfo, as they finally looked at the beginning something going here. Now they lose their tank, and this is almost going to be a lost fight for them unless we see Rafa unless we see Ligtat and Dystopia really pop off and find some picks here early on. Capium as well. They've been able to find a couple picks here and they're on that Kiri, but losing your tank, especially with how strong Domina is right now, is almost a backbreaker for them.
Yeah, there's going to be next something you're going to be able to do here, and the question is, with the way they're positioned right now, which everyone can still get out, do you decide to get out, or do you go and fight the 4v5 right here? Because you come back with that Domina is going to take a long time, and honestly, it might be potentially more worthwhile to give this fight up and regroup 5v5 a lot quicker.
I'm going to be honest with you here right now, because I can see it. They're going to take this fight. Ligtat and Rafa are in the back line.
Well,
as
Ligtat's not in the
Ligtat
back line anymore. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, this is... I mean, DCing problems do happen. Again, we've seen it a lot here. I think I watched a couple of streams of EMEA earlier today, and they had the same kind of problem. But right now, just waiting on those players to get back before we head back in. But yeah, now Rafa's the only one in the back line. I don't think anyone has necessarily noticed them. Maybe the only person who has might be Yoon. So they should be able to get out. And I mean, I think this goes right back to what you were saying. This should be just honestly be Garfo kind of falling back and regrouping this and just giving up the fight here. Or you just see Rafa go on and stall out the point as long as they can.
Yeah, we'll have to see which one it ends up being, as we're kind of just again, waiting for this timer to kind of go down, see what happens. But hopefully you get them back and you can go in here and take another fight. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say right there, as Capium is now gone as... No, I'll keep that thought in my little head.
Yeah,
but...
I think me and you are thinking of the same exact thought right now. Okay, Lictat's back. So there's one, but again, I think we're mostly just waiting on God Hanzo at this point. But again, this is a really unfortunate situation here for Agave Garfo. They're looking like they're going to be in a little bit of a better spot here. They're still playing these flank angles, which could really work, especially with the Reaper. But now, again, you have to give this point. Hopefully, though, everyone gets back in because, yeah. Okay, so God Hanzo is back, so I think we're going to see everyone back in here momentarily. Capion's back as well. Okay, so we're going to be going back in here momentarily as everyone for Agave Garfo is back in the lobby, but this is most likely a lost fight and a lost point for them as well.
Yeah, almost 100% it's going to be, so hopefully we get into this in 3 seconds. Here's hoping, but yeah, the thing is complete restart. Everyone has to reset on the ultimates right here, and unfortunately, yeah, they're just going to walk on and take this point as, yeah, Sophia just has to get out, and again, unfortunate series of events as Sophia is going to be potentially caught out here, but actually will stay alive and get some care.
Yeah, Shigora, though, very low, and I think there's an opportunity where you could see a little bit of aggression come out here. God Hanzo going to be able to find you, and now Shigorath not going to be much longer for this world.
Yeah, Shigorath is going to run for it, is going to get the mini health pack as... Yeah, surviving is massive, as they'll be able to get out with a little help from Ice Volcano. So despite everything that happens, they do take that point back very quickly.
Very, very quickly. I mean, you could probably look at it saying they should have probably never lost in the first place, but Lake Tab making this Reaper work. Like I said, this is probably one of Reaper's better maps at the moment, especially as Reaper has kind of fallen out of the meta, but they still definitely do have a spot on certain maps, and this is definitely one of them. Yeah,
God Hanzo's got to be a little careful, though. Again, can be burst down very quickly, but 80%'s on the board. With the way the Elizabeth have gone down, rough scenario as you're going to see the Phenomicon catch onto a couple of bodies as they're just going to be cleared away. And now, if you're everyone, you're trying to potentially go and die on this point. Give yourself as much time as possible to reset, as Capium's going to be able to get out. But the question is, do you have a touch?
Do you have a touch? Yeah, that is it here. You're looking at Rafa mostly because they're your speed, but you don't really have much else there. Capium, though, yeah, like you did say, they are kind of sneaking over there, but they need to be able to get the touch. Looks like it's going to be Lake Tat, though. You do have beat coming up here, though, for Agave Garfo, so if you want to invest that into this fight, especially finding one early on, but losing Lake Tat, you might need to get that beat the moment you use it to get it.
Yeah, and the beat barely hits, by the way. Let's make that clear. The Soviet doesn't get hit with it, though, so not too much success right now as God Hanzo's going down. Unfortunately, this fight is likely going to have to be surrendered. You're still on a 4v5. It's technically not done yet, but I think with that, things are indeed cooked. And again, who knows what's going to happen if Capium, God Hanzo have the results online, but best thing you can do is look at that next fight and try to take it.
Yeah, again, I feel like it's a little bit of serious, unfortunate events right there for Garfo. I think without all those DCs, they might end up taking that first point, but time would have told us what happens there. Now, they do have a couple ultimates coming online. They do have the Panopticon. They do have their own Consuming Rush and a Death Blossom at some point here, but Beat will be ready for Ice Volcano and Shigorath. Remember, they already used one Panopticon halfway to their second.
Yeah, it has been really impressive all the entire night with this Domina, but now God Hanzo was just up really aggressively. It's just going to get burnt down. But Link Tat and Sofia find really good picks to turn this one around, trying to make this very winnable. But Shigorath, who has been a menace in being able to stay alive, by the way, it cannot be understated. As they get rid of Link Tat, they're still hanging around. But eventually, this is a 3v1. This should eventually go in their favor, but they need to, like, collapse on Shigorath right there. They're giving them way too much to work with. I don't understand why you're giving Shigorath this much to work with.
They were trying to collapse on him, but you have to remember almost every ability that Domina has, any damage she does from it gives her shields right back. And now B coming out from Ice Volcano, and you see him just go straight to the back line.
Yeah, Lictat, though, is able to get rid of one. That's going to be able to clear out a couple of bodies, though, as Yoon so close to going down. Trades coming out one after another. Remember, this point has not been taken by anybody yet. As Pulse Bomb comes out, Nearson catches onto it, and again, Ragnarok win the battle. And it took so much from both sides, but again, Shigorath just staying alive the whole time.
Yeah, again, it's Shigorath. This is the first time me and you are seeing them, I believe. They have been impressing us mightily throughout this entire series right now. And, I mean, 15-0, have yet to dive this entire map. They're already used their second Panopticon. You do have a Consuming Rush and an Override Protocol here online for Garfo, but you're going to have to deal with Natho's Protocol first.
Yeah, and as
Who-
like that.
And they're back almost immediately. So there's some connection issues going on. But again, first game of the season for Face It. We kind of expect this, sadly, but it's just unfortunate that it's been happening all to Garfo here at the moment. And we're gonna have to wait for this time back to completely count down here.
Yeah, that's gonna be unfortunately the case. But we'll get back into things again. Lictat had just used the Death Blossom in the fight before, so not a whole lot of charge being lost. But now you get into this next fight. Nate though is in a position to where I don't really like where God Hanzo was at with this override protocol of just being aimed directly at them. But Dex, we're just gonna have to see because there's some good ultimates online here for Garfo, but they still have to find that success with them.
Yeah, I mean, you have that Katsuna Rush. You got to have your own override, and not that far away from a beat. And this is a point that I think you need to win. Lictat will get back in. God Hanzo barely able to escape it, but there should be one more heavy round coming out from them. Not going to be able to find anyone. So you survived the first ultimate right there for Garfo, but you're going to have to deal with the Katsuna Rush from Yoon, which will just overcharge everyone on that side. But you have 3 ultimates coming up. You need to be able to get something here going first. I've been saying that a lot throughout the night, but that's been one thing that Garfo's really struggled with, finding that first pick.
Yeah, it has been a really big struggle right now. Lictat, though, finds a good one. Hanzo needs to stay alive desperately, though, as you see the pressure coming through. Shigrath gets rid of Lictat. Shigrath, though, is surrounded, at least for the moment, is somehow still hanging in here, being kept alive, and this has been the name of their game throughout the entirety of this night. As God Hanzo, again, overplays their hand. Beat comes out, catches onto 2 whole people, and this is just going to find nothing.
All 3 ultimates right there for Agave Garfo don't find anything and just end up being duds. And Shigora, like you said, just kind of keeping themselves alive. They had Yoon behind them that entire time to support them, and they are just looking great. And now you're immediately going to see Ragnarok just be able to get set up on the next and potential final point, not only of the map, but of this series. And if you're Agave Garfo, you need to get something going here, and you need to get something going fast because you're running out of time.
Yeah, this will be tough to pull back, but it's always winnable. You have Katsune Rush here to make a little bit of space to work with. Panopticon is ready to go, but Lictat going to find, again, early pick comes through, but Lictat's going to pursue for a moment. I think smartly backs out of that situation, preserves their life, and they're going to be able to take this fight away. So Katsune Rush gets used, but you're going to have matching Panopticons coming up for the next fight.
Yeah, and Shigorath, that was their first death of this game right there. And they've been just playing so well, and honestly, like you said, they were already kind of backing out, so they probably just took death there for free. But you look at what they're coming back into with this next fight. Really 4 ultimates that beat. You're going to have Panopticon pulse bomb as well. Beat, though, out here early on. There's the Panopticon.
Yeah, catches on to a lot of people, but there's just no follow-up available. Lictat's surrounded right now. Goes in place. He's going to momentarily live, but momentarily might be the thing here. As you're in the 4v5, you're hoping you can get Rafa back into this one in time to be able to find some kind of impact, but as things are right now, talk about Rafa, they come in, jump Neuroshin. They stop that from going disastrously wrong.
Yeah, and you have to remember, that fight started with Ragnarok investing 2 ultimates, their Panopticon, and their own beat. Good job there by Garfo being able to withstand them, but you have to deal with 3 ultimates still online for them right now. The Katsuna Rush is about to be online. Here comes Natho with their override protocol. Death Blossom from Lictat. Not going to be able to find anyone.
Yeah, but it doesn't like it's going to matter a whole lot as there's just Ice Volcano and Neuroshin hanging about, as Neuroshin is not going to get a retouch, as we'll see. Yeah, they eventually just surrounded the life. Sophia gets 3 to end that one, so best point so far here for Garfo, but they still have to replicate that 2 more times.
Yeah, but hey, they never gave up the point after they capped it there, and really they did a good job of getting ultimates out from the other side and just making them not find any value. You're going to have a pretty even ult economy coming in this next fight, as Capium should be able to build their own Katsuna Rush, and Dystopia will have their override, but you're looking at Nourish and you're looking at Yoon. Those ultimates have been able to win them fights in the past. Lictat or getting caught out here, but Dystopia can get everything started with their own override protocol.
Yeah, you see everyone just backs out immediately. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is going to be enough room to cap the point as a direct result. You'll just eventually see a touch come through here momentarily as Katsuna Rush is going to take over the point. Cabium does have theirs around the corner as well if Lictat can stay alive in this exchange, but God Hanzo's the one suffering the most as they're out in no man's land, unfortunately.
Yeah, Capium had to kind of hide in that opposite room from where they're fighting right now and just couldn't get to them, and just got Hanzo, the unfortunate person right there. But if everyone can get out here for Garfo, it will be a huge benefit to them. Rafa barely escaping with their life. Lakehead has to play it, but you're going to see the fallback there from Ragnarok, and that is the best thing you could have hoped for if you're Agave Garfo, especially with 3 ultimates coming online for yourselves here, and only having to deal with maybe this pin off come pretty early on from Shigorath.
Yeah, Casino Rush is available, and it's going to be thrown across the point. Everyone going to back out immediately. Ice Volcano does go down, but this doesn't mean it's over, though. You have to go and, honestly, put some really big pressure on this point. Try to take this one away for free, as there will be no retouch. 58% is you'll see a quick regroup instead.
Yeah, 1 ultimate for that point right there. I think you would gladly take that if you're Garfo. You're coming up to 3 as well. Linktat's going to have another Death Blossom. Granted, it didn't find anything last time, but it did enough damage for everyone to clean up. Penopticon out there, only land on the God Hanzo, and they're going to be taken out here because of it.
Yeah, I don't think you can sound barrier this, and you don't get the chance to anyway. But everyone needs to die, honestly. Die or get out, because you're already over here at 60%, as Linktat is still alive, has Death Blossom again.
They are able to get out alive. Again, you're seeing Garfo play a little bit differently here now. They're knowing when to back out of fights, mostly because they have to at this point. This could be final fight territory, though, if they do not win it. Granted, 3 ultimates ready for each side. Beats are going to be important here, but Laketat has to find the opportunity to use the Death Blossom, as they already get caught off in that backline.
Yeah, Rafa needs to use this right here, right now, and it will come out. Panopticon out as well. Doesn't find a ton of success, but overtime has been activated. It is Linktat still hanging around with the Death Blossom in the backline, but needs to go help things out, as they're going to go pressure the top with Nathan right there. Eventually going to force them out. Hits the ult. It's able to get one. Looks like they will be able to turn this one around. Shigorath eventually going to fall down. But now you have a troubling fight coming up here, as Notion takes one with them. You're going to take over this fight, but now you have a Casino Rush down in your face here soon, and Capium, I don't think he's going to be able to get this online in time.
Capium's not going to be able to get it online in time. No, they are not. Dystopia, though, they're going to have their own override protocol here, which could be an ultimate, especially if we see a little bit of a split play coming out here from Ragnarok. Could definitely work, as you already actually start to see that split happening right there. Shigorath, though, going to be able to regroup the other members of their team, but this is a fight where you need to get something going here early if you are Garfo.
Yeah, absolutely needs to right now. Remember, you can allow the point to go over, but unfortunately gets caught out. And now rough scenario is, and they're going to be cleared out. Dystopia's doing whatever they can. You get one. It's just not going to be enough. Flip comes over. Rafa Linktat of the last touches on the board. It's not going to matter, though. Ragnarok is going to take this one away in 3-0 fashion, having a really good start to the season.
A great start to the season, honestly. I mean, this was huge for them here. A brand new team formed. We had a lot of questions, a lot of good names on paper. Wanted to see how they would gel together, especially against that Garfo team, who looked incredible towards the end of last season, but hey, just didn't look on it tonight here. And again, great performances all around from everyone on Ragnarok, but this was by far, I think, Garfo's best map. They just weren't able to get over the hump there consistently. Those first couple points, granted, that first point I think was really derailed by a lot of DCs from them, but outside that, Ragnarok was just played like a team throughout that entire round. You saw a lot of Shigorath out there playing that Domina and just having problems on it, and it made me question why Garfo did not ban out the Domina going into this map. Yeah, you did see Domina come out from them as well, but again, you maybe want to just get rid of the Domina there, try to win that one map, and then figure it out on the next map on how to shut it down. But still good performances there from everyone there on Garfo. But I mean, Ragnarok, just a lot to write home about. Great showing here from Shigorath. 26 kills, 3 deaths in the last map here, and I want to do something real quick. Yeah, they only had 13 deaths throughout this entire game here, this entire series. They were all over the place for this team, and you have to remember, you had players for Garfo last map who had over 15 deaths.
Yeah, it's just a really good display, and in what you can do there if you are Shigorath. It'd be interesting to see this team down the line if the Domina ever does get banned out, and see what their kind of substitute is, because you could easily just go down the route of the Diva, play a very similar composition, and go from there. But no, it's a really good display. And obviously there should be a lot of faith now in the squad moving forward, seeing what they're going to be able to do. Obviously, the whole season is still in front of both these teams, so we'll have to see what ends up happening. But in terms of everything else, yeah, it's a really good display. On the other side of things, Agave Garfo loses out to Heist 3-0, so that's another thing. So unfortunately not the greatest day for Agave, but again, like I said, still a really long season. This is still a top 4 situation, I believe. So again, it is going to be the very best of the best that's going to be in the playoffs at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. But the playoffs are a long, long way away for a lot of these teams. Here, for both these teams here, as we've already seen a lot of reschedules happen here, which is something that we kind of expect here in the South American region. But still, we have another game on Friday. That one should be a really, really good one. But Ragnarok, I mean, I think they made a statement here in this first game of the season. I think they're going to be one team that we're going to have to watch out for throughout the entirety of the regular season.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where things go from here, but hopefully we'll see a little bit more over on Friday as we have that Factor X Element Ice game to deal with. But and in terms of tonight, it's not over quite yet. We are covering a little bit of North American action with a different Element team. Element Normal is taking on Hive Mind. Now, that is about an hour away from now, so it is going to be a hot minute until we get to that point. But either way, that game should be a lot of fun. This one right here, I would love to see it a little further down the line. Maybe, obviously, the only way it can happen is with playoffs. That's the unfortunate thing. But I would love to see it again with these teams developing throughout the entire season. We'll see if we get to that point, though. But at least for now, we'll be cutting away for a while. But again, a little bit later at the top of the next hour, we have Element Normal taking on Hive Mind for that North American spot over there. So should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll see you then. But if not, have yourselves a fantastic night. Peace.
Dude.